Hi, welcome to our show. Crooked Doctors. We have a guest in the studio with us today, and his name is Dr. Stephen DeLuca. So today is Friday, September 16th, 2011, and our guest is Dr. Stephen DeLuca. Do you want to tell our audience who you are and what you're doing here?
Sure. I'm a candidate for Hudson County Executive. That's across the river in New Jersey. And Lidya invited me on the show, and it's a way for me to reach out and talk to you about why I'm running. You get a chance to know who I am.
And the reason why Dr. Stephen DeLuca is here today is because, as you know, my story is I have crooked doctors in New York from the Albert Einstein College of Yeshiva University. And those crooked doctors, in an organized criminal conspiracy with crooked doctors at Jersey City, he's nice. Oh wait, I have to say this first. This is the disclaimer. Because you're on my show today does not mean you sanction or endorse anything that I do. I'm involved in some very serious controversies that involve crime and corruption with federal judges, with all kinds of important people. So just because you're on my show today does not mean that you sanction, endorse, bless, or in any way condone anything that I'm doing. I promised people, like, there were people who helped me, for example, the Nassau County Civic Association, and other people who gave me forums to speak, including the very helpful people here at Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And I promised that when there were other people who were trying to do good in the world, that if I had a forum, I would share it with them. So today we're going to kind of put my stuff on the back burner a little bit, and we're going to talk about Dr. Stephen DeLuca, who's running for Hudson County Executive. Hudson County is the county government that oversees Jersey City. Jersey City is part of this.
That's right, it's the county seat. Right. And we have 12 municipalities in all. It starts from the southernmost point, it starts at Bayonne and works all the way up to Gutenberg to James Braddock Park in the north, and it goes as far west as Secaucus in the north, near the Meadowlands, and in the south all the way out to the borough of East Newark, and so it encompasses all that area.
So the reason why Dr. DeLuca is here today is because he's running for Hudson County Executive. This is a very powerful position in Hudson County because you control the budget and you hire and fire. And the election is November 8th.
That's right.
And we've had it with the crime and corruption. If you come to the Hoboken City Council meetings, which I go to, and the Jersey City Council meeting, there's a lot of dissatisfaction, and so it's time for some real leadership. Some people have done some good things out in the world, and I think you feel called to this position.
I do. I was asked to run, in fact, and I do see a lack of leadership in this county, and I see failed leadership. A total lack of accountability. People are very upset. For example, just this county government and the Jersey City government doesn't seem to think that they need to comply with the law when it comes to passing a budget on time. We spend every year, half the year, operating on emergency appropriations. And by the time we're done with the year, we've spent the money, and so that's what our budget is, and then we say we've got to raise taxes to cover all these expenditures. That's not fiscally responsible, and it's also depriving the residents a voice in how they're budgeted and how much they're going to spend in taxes. If it's something that I hear consistently from residents, is that taxes keep going up even though their property values have fallen, and they don't seem to be getting anything for that in the way of services. They complain about too much regulation, too much red tape for businesses to comply so they can grow and hire, and so they're fed up.
Do you hear that Jersey City and Jersey in general is not business friendly?
Oh, we know that. Well, we know that just from how New Jersey is the least business friendly state in the country, and we know that from stats in Hudson County alone too, that we are very not business friendly. We also know that the unemployment rate here in Hudson County is consistently a couple of percentage points higher than the national average. The median family income is about 2/3 the New Jersey average. We have declining home values. We have people leaving the county. We're not growing in population, we're actually declining. Businesses are leaving. So this dynamic is actually the opposite of what we want. We want to attract people to the county because it's business friendly and because it's a good place to live.
So what we're going to do is we're going to look at Dr. DeLuca's website, and we might as well just jump in.
Sure.
Because one of the things that you'd like to do, you're running for Hudson County Executive. The election is November 8th.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we're going to hire you, and let's go right into, we're going to discuss some of your qualifications, why people should vote
Mm-hmm.
for you. But as long as we're here, why don't we talk about your corrective action plan? I mean,
Okay.
we hire you, what are you going to, I mean, things are terrible. There's no question that Hudson County, it's shameful. We got the FBI, 48 elected. You know, the FBI came through with a sweep. I think they're prosecuting 44 elected officials. The crime and corruption has become so accepted that it's not only we joke about it, people feel like, well, that's just the way things are. That's not the way things are. So we hire you on November 8th. What are you going to do? What's your corrective action?
First of all, let me tell you that I've already started, even though I haven't been elected yet. Even though we don't have election day yet, I've already started. All right. I've already met with the FBI and with the U.S. Attorney's Office. I've met with undercover agents about what's going on with the corruption sting, and it's ongoing.
Okay.
And we know how deep-seated corruption is in this county. I've already started talking to business leaders. I've talked to labor leaders about what we need to do to get working families back on their feet again. I'm talking to foreign investors about attracting monies into the county so we can help people here with their projects, their business enterprises, and they can start to grow. I'm already talking to a lot of people about that. Now, once I'm elected, the first thing I'm going to do is assemble a team to replace the people that need to get out.
Okay.
People like Bud Demolier, who accepted a $20,000 bribe on camera, and he's still in office.
Okay, so you have no problem firing,
I have no
indicting.
problem. I have no problem letting him go and a few other people keep people go.
Okay.
Because we're going to reorganize, and we're going to do that before I even take the oath of office.
Okay.
We got to be ready to be running when we hit the ground running when we come into office on January 1st, and that means we're already going to have a plan.
Okay.
I've already started looking at the budget. All right, we know where the budget needs to be trimmed. We know where we need to start consolidating services and things like that. So on day one, we're going to start doing that. First thing, my first action on day one in office, hire an independent auditing firm.
Okay, here's the first thing the voters are going to say. We hire you, and the first thing you do is you go out and spend money on an independent auditing firm.
Absolutely, we need to clean house. Let's spend money to trim down our costs.
But I think what you want to tell the voters is, okay, that's true, but we're going to spend a small amount of money on the independent audit.
Well, of course, it's going to be small in comparison to the waste that's already there, that we know that is there.
So we spend a little bit of money on an independent audit, and we want to cut redundancies. We're paying for things twice. We're going after fraud, abuse, waste.
Absolutely.
So the first thing you're going to do is an independent audit. Let's expose. Let's do some sunshine, and then let's look at where the money's going. Be very critical. Present that to the general public, saying, look, this is what I want to cut. This is how the cities and the county are doing repetitive things, and that small investment should yield much greater returns.
Well, it will, and we're going to be talking to people at different levels of government to see where we can consolidate, where we can, say, devolve things from the county level to the town level, and vice versa. What's more efficient? We can consolidate government services and agencies. It's very important. And we're going to have to work with the federal and the state level as well to bring about the change that we need. We may need some further grant monies in order to do this, so we'll be doing that from day one. It's not going to be immediate because it's going to take some time to look at where we need to make the changes. It's going to take time to uncover where the fraud is, because I don't expect that these things are just going to be laid out in front of us when we show up on day one. We already know that we know that Mayor Roque entered into office, and he comes into office day one, and all the files are gone, all the hard drives are missing. So we don't expect total cooperation from day one. In fact, it's kind of like taking over a bankrupt corporation, and this is what it is. It's a bankrupt corporation. You know, people will leave, and they'll leave you holding the bag trying to figure things out. They're not going to stick around trying to help me. We're going to have to hire some people to help us figure it out, and figure out where the waste is, where the corruption is, where the patronage is, where we're spending unnecessarily. And then we're going to actually take a hard look at what is really important, what's essential to government services at the county level. What does the county government really need to do, as opposed to, say, a city government or a state level government? What can we get rid of, and what do we need to keep, and what do we need to do better?
And I think the thing that you know, many of us want to learn about is what your qualifications are. So we're going to look at your website. And one of the things they do know is that you've been in Hudson County for what, 5 or 6 years?
About 6.5 years now.
But you know, you're not part of the good old boy network of the crime and corruption. You're,
no.
Relatively speaking, a new face. And why should we trust you with this big important job? Because no, this really is a big important job.
It is a very important job.
And it's you know, if you have the power to hire and fire and deal with the budget and cut the budget and be leaner, which is what we need to do, and try to change things so we're more business friendly, so it's not hard to do business, then why should we trust you? Because unbelievable, your credentials are very, at every stage of life, you have excelled in what you've done. A performance has been demanded of you, and you've performed. So when you say it's demonstrated leadership, it really is. But let's take a look at your website for a moment, because so people can start looking at, our viewing audience can start looking at your website. This is your website, and you can go to, let's go to your bio for a minute. Actually, let me go back for a second. Here on the website, and this is what our viewing audience is seeing. You can see why I'm running, and you talk a little bit about this.
How we need new leadership. And I wanted to start off telling people that I have a vision for Hudson County, and it's not what we're seeing today. We should have a county that is prosperous because of our location and all the assets that we have here. The 2 tunnels going into the city, the major highways, the airports, the ports and all that. We should be thriving with the lifeblood of commerce and industry. We ought to be training our kids to be ready for the jobs for the future. We should be doing all those things, and we're not thriving. And what we're finding instead is that the middle class is getting squeezed, people's home values have gone down, and their taxes keep going up, and they're not getting anything for it. Corruption is rampant throughout the county. We're notorious for it.
We're a joke, frankly. I mean, I talked to the police officers this week, and they're like, well, that's Hudson County. I'm like, that is not acceptable.
It is not acceptable that we should tolerate this, and I know that residents don't want to tolerate it. And in fact, if they get the truth, they speak up about it, but they don't get any change from the people who govern. And I'm here to say that if you want change, you got to vote for change. You can't just expect them to change because you speak your mind. They're going to do what they want to do. They've been proven all along that this is what they're going to do. You can't expect them to change just because you speak your mind. You're going to have to speak through the voter booth.
Exactly.
You're going to have to show up and vote for someone other than the people who are in power.
Exactly.
They're going to keep doing what they want to do. Exactly. And here's the insanity of it. We want change, but we keep voting for the same people in power. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's exactly right. That's the insanity definition. By definition, this county is insane because it's begging for change, but it keeps re-electing the same people who govern us.
So our message has to be, if you don't want, if you're sick and tired, I see this all the time because I go to these city council meetings regularly and I put facts on the record, and people are angry and they think if they come to the city council meetings and they just express their anger and say this is the problem, something will happen, and it doesn't happen. It doesn't. So you got to start voting differently because you're going to send the message that you didn't do the job, so we fired you and hired new people to do the job, and the new people that we're hiring know that if they don't do the job, we'll fire you too. Right. So let's look at why you're qualified, because your credentials are unbelievable.
Thank you.
So let's look at your and talk a little bit about, before I go to your website, let's talk a little bit about how you've been in very demanding situations where performance was demanded from you. For example, your Navy experience, your military experience, you served under a 2-star general.
Actually, a 2-star was on the ship that I was on. I was on an aircraft carrier out of Yokosuka, Japan, and the 2-star admiral was based on our ship. Now, there were times when we had to report directly to him. I was the electronic division officer on our ship, and our division had to report directly to the admiral about what was going on in the task force. And we gather information electronically from other ships and aircraft. We put that together in a tactical picture, and we inform the admiral about that picture so he can make decisions based on that.
So I'm surfing the website a little bit of your website, and you're a lawyer, you were a naval officer, you're a community leader, and if you go through this, just take your time and talk us through, you know, why we should trust you with the pretty big job at Hudson County. And I got to tell you, this is really impressive. You clerked for a judge. You were responsible in the Navy. You know, as I'm going through this, I got to tell you, if you work for a 2-star and you don't perform, they get rid of you.
Well, I'll tell you too, part of my responsibilities in the Navy on the ship was to stand on the bridge. I was the conning officer for general quarters. That means if we go into battle, I'm the guy given the orders to drive the ship. And I'm standing 5 feet in front of the captain the whole time. And not only am I given the orders to drive the ship, but we got to coordinate launch and recovery of aircraft. They were taking off and landing on our aircraft carrier. And it takes a lot of responsibility. We have to see everything that's going on deck and the surface picture. And at the age of 23, it's a tremendous responsibility, but it was a great opportunity for me. And I loved it. It was one of the greatest things that I'll ever do.
Now, when you were in the Navy, you were telling me that you were responsible for a staff of 250 people?
Right. When I first got there, I had a staff of maybe 16. That was the Electronic Warfare Division. Then they gave me a division that had 30. Then they gave me a division that had 100. Then they gave me another division that had 150 at the same time that I still had the 100. So together, I had 250 people that were responsible to me.
So, and your budget was?
Several $1 million.
So I feel pretty confident that if you could do this at, how old were you?
23.
Okay, and you're reporting all the time to a 2-star. So if you've got about 250 people who you're overseeing, you are managing a budget of several million, and you're reporting to a 2-star in the Navy where they don't mess around. It doesn't matter if they like you or don't like you. There is no, you know, if you run the ship or anything bad happens.
Well, let me put it this way. My job, in part, when we were launching and recovering aircraft, was to make sure the ship was headed in the right speed and direction into the wind, because otherwise these planes would crash and people would die. And so it's really life or death, that kind of responsibility. And you have 4,500 people on board, not to mention all the aircraft and all the other equipment that we have on board. That's a tremendous responsibility. It's not that someone doesn't like you. It's the fact that someone can actually die from it.
Many people. So if you couldn't perform and perform well consistently under pressure, you wouldn't have these positions of responsibility offered to you. So I feel very confident that you can do what you say, which is vote for you for Hudson County executive. And I can't see you doing any worse than what we've got.
Frankly, I haven't seen any kind of leadership at all.
Unfortunately.
And what I've seen is that it's a total lack of accountability and responsiveness. The law requires them to have a budget by January 26th, and they haven't passed one on time the whole time I've been here. And nobody's holding them accountable. And the only way to hold them accountable is to remove them from office.
Fire them.
Fire them. The only way you fire them is by voting for someone else.
Exactly. So the citizen, we would appreciate your vote. Let me ask you something, because you have some fundraising events where people can sit down with you and get to know you. So do you want to talk a little bit about when your fundraisers are and invite people to come in? Sure.
We have several fundraisers coming up. The first one is going to be over Columbus Day weekend. It's going to be a barbecue, and it's going to be family friendly, and we invite you to bring your kids with you too. We'll have a clown and some entertainment. And it's only going to be $25 per family. It's not per individual, but per family. We'll have food and drinks, and you're welcome to bring whatever you like. And it'll be a lot of fun. It'll be a chance for you to meet me and some of the other candidates. And it's going to be a great fall day, we hope. In addition to that, we have several other.
On October. We're going to do this on
October 8th.
We've been very critical of the government in Hudson County, and part of that government is, Jersey City. So, actually, Jersey City has a lovely state park, Liberty State Park. So it's actually a very pretty place.
And that's where we're having the barbecue.
So this is where we're having the barbecue.
That's right.
At Liberty State Park. And they have a science museum there and all kinds of good stuff. So if you come to Liberty State Park on Saturday from noon to 6 p.m. on October 8th, you can meet Dr. Steven DeLuca in person and ask him some questions. I imagine if you're going to hold the the people who are in power now to accountability and performance, that you know you expect the same for yourself. So,
Absolutely.
So people can come and ask you about your background, why you think that you'll be a good Hudson County executive, and this is one of your events at Liberty State Park. And I know you have a couple other events scheduled, so you want to talk about the one on the 12th and the 13th?
Sure. On the 12th, we're having Governor Tom Kean and his son, Senator Tom Kean Jr., and on the following day, the 13th, we'll have a fundraiser with Lieutenant Governor Kim Guadagno. And we do not have specifics on those. We'll provide the details at a later date.
But we have a website. So if we go to your website, and are you going to be announcing this on, let me bring this down.
We will be announcing it on Facebook. We'll be putting out press releases. We'll let people know.
Okay, so if everybody just goes to your website, they can find all the information that they need.
We'll put it up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And, okay. And you have this in Spanish, so for our...
The reasons for why I'm running is in Spanish, not the bio.
Okay. And we do know that Hudson County is 40% Hispanic or Latino, Latina, and a lot of the folks who come and live in Hudson County are people from other countries who need a county to be business friendly, because these are a lot of grassroots small enterprise. You don't come to America not to get a chance to be entrepreneurial, and so we need that.
Right. Well, let me talk about something else too, because it kind of ties in. People come here to America because they have aspirations, they have a dream, they have some sort of notion that things are going to be better for them. They're going to leave behind their home country, and that's very courageous when you're taking yourself and your family out of that home environment, and you're seeking a better life for your family, for your children. You come here with all those aspirations, and time again, the people that I speak to that are here first generation, second generation, they're finding it no better than the place that they left behind.
So if you wanted the crime and corruption, you could have stayed in the old country. You didn't have to come to the new country.
When they're trying to get a business up and running, they want to be entrepreneurial. They're running against the same red tape, the same problems, the same kind of corrupt government that they faced when they left home. And so it defeats the purpose.
So we hire you. We vote for you on November 8th, and your corrective action plan is you're going to spend a little bit of money on a independent audit.
Right.
And you want to look for redundancies. You want to look for where the city government and the state government and the federal government are all doing the same thing.
Right. Or better ways of doing things together and working with people so we can be more efficient. But on top of that, we want ethical and moral government, all right? And so it's important that if we have an ethics office, that it actually be a real ethics office and it act like one, all right?
Let me ask you something. If because I'm sure we're going to put this up on the internet, and we're being very critical. Tom DeGise is the Hudson County exec right now.
Right.
If he sees this and he gets his back up, which we hope we get some reaction, and he were to come here, I would be perfectly happy, and I want to say this on the record, to give him equal time.
In fact, I'd be willing to speak with him and have a debate with him.
And I think there should be a debate. One of my questions is, how come our local cable television in Jersey, I think it's Jersey Cable 1, why aren't they having debates? Let's call them up and say...
I think we should.
Because one of the things that Tom DeGise, with great respect, does to promote himself is say that he's established the first ethics board?
Right. When he first came into office, it was following the removal of Mr. Januszewski from office because of a scandal. And so his first day in office, he proposed legislation to the Freeholder Board to create an ethics government, a board for ethical government. And what I found in looking at the budget is that this is funded at the tune of $12,000 a year. Ever since it's been created, it's been hard for me to find out if they've actually done anything. I don't even know if they've met since it was created. What I do know is that 2 years ago, 7 years after it was created, more than 40 people ended up in jail, and many of those people were from Hudson County. All right, now, it speaks volumes about how effective this board has been. I do know from having worked in the federal government for a federal judge and in the government in Washington, D.C., that there are things, and in the Navy, there are things that we have to comply with. And it's like if you work for a bank or a major corporation, they all have substantial, real ethics offices. And if I wanted to do something that perhaps was a perceived conflict with my duties when I was in office, even if I even left the office, I'd still have to get permission from the ethics office to do it. All right.
So basically in Hudson County, we're such a joke is that we have an ethics board. We don't fund them. We don't know who they are. We don't know what they're doing. They never report. But Tom DeGeese is really doing great. He's probably going to hate us.
All right. Well, all right. It's all right. It's a great idea. We got to fund it properly, and it's got to operate well, and it's got to be effective. And we know it's not effective because more than 40 people just went to jail, and the undercover sting is still ongoing. So, if it's not effective, we've got to make a change. I'm not saying we get rid of it. We've got to enhance it. This is an area where we might want to actually spend real money. And when I hire people, it's going to be based on merit, and everyone's going to be trained on good governance and ethical practices. And it's going to be about, everyone's going to have to disclose their potential conflicts. And if there's something that they're working on that might be a potential conflict, even a perceived conflict, then they can't work on it. All right. Or they have to get approval from the ethics board. And it has to be disclosed, fully disclosed, so that everybody knows that there is a potential conflict here, but it's been approved. All right.
It's funny because I have two thoughts about this. One, where it's, you really have to teach people to be. I mean, some of the crimes that the 44. I think there was 48, but 44 were going to jail or being prosecuted.
Right. And some are still under investigation. We don't know how many.
I mean. We really have to teach you how. I mean, some of these crimes are so basic, like that it's like we really have to train you in this. I mean, it's.
Well, here's the thing: is that if you don't have it in your heart, basically, you know what's right and what's wrong, and you don't stop and think to say, "All right, this might be wrong," and ask for permission, then you shouldn't be working for my government. You should not be working for me, and you won't be. All right. If there are red flags that you can't even tell right from wrong, you're not going to be you won't last very long working for me.
Okay, good.
All right. If anything, there's one thing that I learned from the judge that I worked for, and he says, the only thing I've got, Steve, is my integrity. If I lose that, I lose everything. And I never forgot that. That's totally important, most important to me. Now, this is a person who is serving as a United States judge on the Court of International Trade. He was offered the director of the FBI position and turned it down. He was on the short list with Scalia for appointment to the Supreme Court. This is a substantial person. The most important thing to him is his integrity.
And you worked for him.
And I worked for him.
And you were his law clerk.
I was his law clerk.
So in other words, explain to the general public what a law clerk does if they don't know.
Well, a law clerk works with the judge to help him perform his duties. And we review a lot of the briefs and the attachments that are brought in by the lawyers to argue their case on either side. We sometimes have a hearing and so on. My job was to review all that and perhaps draft some things for his review. Eventually he wrote his own opinions, but I had some input on it.
So in other words, if you're a person of bad moral character, or you're not conscientious about your work, and you're giving the judge, get this because this is a theme in my show, if the flow of information to your judge is not full, true, accurate information, and he makes the wrong decision, and that leads to bad decisions that hurt people. He would get rid of you and prosecute you pretty quickly.
There would be no doubt about that.
Okay, so you have had position. I think we went over this a little too quickly, and maybe you want to take some time and spend about 10 minutes or so going through your background.
Sure.
It's very impressive, and what's very important for people to know is that at every point in your life, you were asked to perform under pressure, not only to perform under pressure, but to do the right thing, to be accountable, to be transparent. It's not that you have to prove yourself. You have already proven that you're a leader.
Well, let me actually go a step further and say that it's not that I was even asked to do it. It's more like I step into a leadership vacuum where I see something is needed, I step up.
Thank you. You know who also said that today? And this must be a sense that a lot of other people are feeling.
Right.
Because, not to promote Donald Trump, but I'm about to, but just yesterday,
Right.
he was on an interview where he was saying the same thing. And he was saying, I'm very happy in what I'm doing in my job, and I wish we had strong, good leadership.
Right.
And I would be very happy to continue to do my business. And, I'm sure you have plenty of opportunities available to you, as, your resume speaks volumes that you do. But there's a leadership vacuum, and eventually, I didn't think it was going to be me, but somebody has to do something. So eventually, you just suck it up and say, "Okay, I'm tired of complaining. I'm going to step up. I'm going to run. I'm going to do it. I'm going to ask to be held accountable." And the same way that you and I and other citizens in Jersey are holding our elected officials' feet to the fire, we expect to also have our feet held to the fire. I mean, I know when I was given a position at a Fortune 300 company, a marketing position, every Friday I'm like, I should be in my boss's office saying, "This is what I did this week. These people should be holding me accountable. These are the things that I did this week. This is how I didn't spend money. This is how I increased." I mean, I would expect to give reports every Friday about what I did.
Right.
Well,
here's how I believe in operating when I lead. We have a vision. We set a vision. We decide what goals we have, what objectives we want to achieve.
Okay.
And then we decide what we need to do to achieve each one of those. Everything that we do from there on is directed at achieving one or all of those goals. And we do things that are measurable and achievable, and we track how well we're progressing with achieving those goals.
And one of your goals was you wanted to reduce the budget by 4%.
Well, we're looking at, that's right, we're going to look to, over the first 4 years of my administration, we're actually going to cut taxes. We're going to cut expenses so that we can bring down the taxes in the county. Because we've lost nearly $5 billion in property value in just the past year alone.
Wow.
And yet our taxes keep going up. And that's not right. I mean, if this were a company, we'd be out of business by now. And the only reason that the county government is still afloat is because they have the power to tax, even though its residents don't want to pay any more taxes. All right, so it's like demanding consumers to buy your product, but we know we can't do that in the real world. But the government is doing that because they can get away with it. We've been letting them get away with it.
And eventually, and what we're seeing, is what you're reporting to us, is what you're seeing in Hudson County is that people are just starting to leave.
Well, people have started to leave. It's not just Hudson County, it's New Jersey too, and we need to make things better. But yeah, absolutely. We're losing population in Hudson County. We are the most densely populated county in the state, and we're the most diverse, which is a great strength for us. We still attract a lot of people here for different reasons, but we're losing population. It's not like we're growing. And so there's a reason for that.
And you would think that with our close proximity to Manhattan, and with, that we should be a bedroom community, we should be a community in our own right.
Well, that has already happened. In fact, I first lived here many, many years ago before I went to law school. And at that time, things were just starting to change. And that's when we had the yuppie generation who were starting to move here, who worked in New York, and they lived here because it was cheaper. I lived here because it was cheaper and I was working in New York. And so things started to change and we developed. And we're attracting different types of people here, which is fine. What we're missing is that we're attracting a lot of the banks and investment houses over from Wall Street, which is fine. But what we're not doing is we're not training the people who live here for the jobs there. That's another item that we have to work on, is our education, so that the folks coming out of our colleges and schools are prepared for the jobs waiting for them, where they're going to be needed, like these high-end jobs, the banking jobs, or the high-tech jobs, the healthcare jobs. Our aging population is exploding, and with Obamacare increasing the need for doctors and nurses, we're going to have to create more doctors and nurses.
Or even services. A lot of elderly people will move to densely populated communities like Manhattan because they can get pickup and delivery services. So, I mean, if one of the people that I talked to, I happen to have a friend on a bar association, and she's like, you know something, Lidya? If you can bring me people who want to start their own small business, I can find you at least 26 foundations who will be willing to give as a grant $20,000 to $30,000 for someone who wants to start their own business. You know, our county exec should be promoting that, right? I mean, there should be a person who's in charge of, if you give me a business plan and it seems to, if you've started a business and you need an extra $20,000 or $30,000 to make your business grow, or you want to start your own business.
Well, we do have parts of county government that do that. We have the Improvement Authority, we have the Development Corporation, and we have a Planning Authority, which is great. What I want to talk about is what I'm actually trying to do now before I even get elected, about trying to attract business here. Okay, number one, as I said, we need to make things more business friendly. But number two, I'm already working with foreign investors to attract money to this county.
So what do they say?
All right, they are ready to put in millions of dollars in Hudson County, tens, hundreds of millions of dollars, whatever it takes. To revitalize the ports, to get them running again. We're looking at investments in major business entrepreneurial practices here. We've met with a number of people who are willing to do that. I've met with the CEO of the World Trade Center for Northern New Jersey.
Excellent.
He has the rights to the name World Trade Center to put it on any building in New Jersey, and I've convinced him to put it on a building in Hudson County, and that's going to attract a lot of business. And we've been, he does a commodities exchange where we attract people from all over the world to do business through this center. And we're looking at attracting a number of people to put up their businesses, import, export, or whatever, here in Hudson County. On top of that, we're also going to provide manufacturers and service providers opportunities to go abroad and meet people in the Middle East and other places where they can do business overseas. And so export jobs tend to pay better than domestic jobs. And we start creating these opportunities for businesses to go global. Guess what? They're going to start being more prosperous. They're going to start hiring more workers. I'm doing this before I even get elected. So what do you think I'm going to do once I'm in office?
So if you were to establish the ethics board, and you're not just working for Jersey City, because the Hudson County also includes places like Hoboken. When I was talking to one of the city council women in Hoboken, here's what she said. Because, you know, Hoboken used to be, I remember, you know, I'm old enough to remember where, she doesn't like me to say this, but when Hoboken was not such a nice place. And I was like, so how did things change? Because I remember when there were, you know, bad jokes about Hoboken. And she's like, well, you know, after a while, people just got tired of the crime and corruption. And a few people said, what if we started thinking less about how we could steal another $10,000, and what if we just started thinking about what we could do to make Hoboken better? And when you saw that happen, now Hoboken's so nice I can't afford to live there. So,
and to be honest, I mean, things have gotten better, and the housing has gotten better. The development on the waterfront has brought in more business, and that's great. But we have to talk about some of the downsides too, Now, we have developed quite a bit on the waterfront. One of the downsides is that we've given long-term pilots, payments in lieu of taxes, to some of these companies to relocate here and to build here. What that means is that while money still continues to go to the government of Jersey City, we're not getting the same money that we usually get for the county and the Board of Ed. So the county is being deprived of tax revenues. In essence, the rest of Hudson County is subsidizing the development of the Jersey City waterfront. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if it was actually creating jobs for people in Hudson County. But we're hiring, the banks are hiring people from outside of Hudson County to do those jobs. And not only that, when they did the development on the waterfront, who did they hire? Contractors from outside the county. So it didn't benefit us very much. And we're losing money from tax revenues.
So as part of your correction action plan to make it, I don't know if you can do this without discriminating, and you would know better than I since you're an attorney, but was part of your correction action plan to start trying to hire Hudson County to work in Hudson County?
Actually, absolutely. One of the things that I did during this campaign is I met with some of the labor leaders. I met with President Busaka, he's the president of the local unions, and I met with their chairperson for COPE, that's the Committee on Political Education. I filled out their questionnaire, everything, met with them, and I told them what I've been doing all my life, all my professional life, to help domestic industries and American workers. And I told them, among other things, that I'm in favor of project labor agreements or community workforce agreements. And let me explain briefly what they are. That means that we're going to use local labor to work on contracts that are hired through the government, the county government. And the reason why I support that, and this sounds like very dangerous for a Republican to say, because Republicans almost always are just, we're evil, we hate working families, all we want is to help these big corporations and big banks make lots of money and screw it to the working people. But I'm completely the opposite, because I understand that with labor, through unions, you get people who are trained in a trade, they do it more safely and reliably, they do it on time, right? And you get people off the public assistance rolls, and with the money that they have, they're buying locally. So guess what? It's promoting local business at the same time.
So what you're saying is you're a Republican that's union friendly?
Yes.
So if you could actually legally and ethically emphasize hiring Hudson County businesses, Hudson County labor to do work in Hudson County.
For county business.
Okay.
All right. Well, for county contracting and things like that, I can do that.
Okay.
I'm certainly not going to impose on the private sector who they hire, right? But it's certainly, if we're going to use independent contractors, we want them to use union labor or at least pay a minimum wage and pay benefits.
So part of your corrective action plan is what you've noticed is that while the county is subsidizing all this development, it's outside companies that are benefiting and not the counties, the
Right.
union laborers that live and work in Hudson County.
That's right.
So
The other downside I wanted to talk about, if we can talk about this for a minute, is the Harrison Stadium.
Okay.
All right, and I mentioned it at the freeholder meeting last week. And everybody should know about this because this is a big red flag. All right, we built the Harrison Stadium a few years ago. It's doing well. The Red Bulls are doing great. All right. The reason for building it was so that the town of Harrison could have tax revenues, all right? And so it would help them. And so what's happening now, though, is
Wait,
that
how would building a stadium help?
All right,
revenues?
all right. By building the stadium and generating revenues from people who come in to use the stadium, not just the Red Bulls, but for whatever other purpose, but also it was supposed to be built for residential and commercial things as well, not just the stadium. It was incomplete, the development. And so we've left that undeveloped. We just have the stadium right now. But the stadium owner is disputing having to pay taxes because they're saying that the property, the land is still owned by the Improvement Authority, so they don't have to pay taxes. It's property taxes that they don't have to pay. So the town of Harrison is deprived of the monies that they would use to pay down the bonds. So they had to borrow money in order to make a payment on the bonds, and now their bonds are worth almost junk status. Guess what? When the bonds are issued, guess who else backed the bonds? The county. The purpose of having the Improvement Authority as a special purpose entity is to take risks like this off the books. Now, we've backed the bonds, and the town of Harrison may default. Guess what? We're going to be responsible for having to pay down those bonds.
So the bill is going to be stuck to the county.
That's right.
So we built this stadium, and the purpose of the stadium was to, pay taxes, bring people in to, enjoy the events at the stadium,
Right.
develop all kinds of other businesses, and then we would tax whatever activity was going on.
Well, you pay property taxes,
Okay.
right? And then other taxes would be generated just from the operations of the stadium. And you also have, if you develop it for commercial and residential purposes, guess what? The owners there are paying property taxes too, and that all goes to the town of Harrison. It's shared between the town of Harrison, the county, and the Board of Ed. That's how property taxes are shared, all right? Unless you have a payment in lieu of taxes, like we did with the development of the waterfront. Now what's happened is that they don't want to pay any taxes.
So
Right.
we established this organization. This organization builds the stadium,
Right.
and the idea was somewhere along the line, after the stadium was up and running, that there would be taxes paid, and the governments would make money and
Right,
generate,
exactly.
and instead, this entity that was established built the stadium, and now what they're saying is we're not paying the taxes.
We're not going to pay taxes because we don't own the property the Improvement Authority does, so why should we have to pay property taxes? That's their argument right now. Now, someone didn't think this through. Not only did they didn't think through whether or not they would pay taxes, there was never a feasibility study done when they did this.
Okay.
So this is not responsible business practices.
Okay, so how do you fix this now that you've got in Hudson County, you have a town.
I'm not sure exactly. I'm not exactly sure how we fix it. I brought it up at last week's event, and Chairman O'Day is right behind me on this, and he talked to the county administrator about it on the record about doing something about it. Absolutely, we need to find some remedies to it. There's probably no easy solution to it, but what we do know is that we have to stop these irresponsible practices.
Because they're not bringing in the tax revenue, and
Right.
and now we're into
Right,
this
you're doing pilots on the waterfront to build up the waterfront in Jersey City, and so we're being deprived of our tax revenues there. Then you build a stadium. Then you build a stadium in Harrison where they're not paying taxes, and so we're losing revenues all around. Who's benefiting from this? Who passed on this? Who signed off on this? All right. Questions have to be asked, and answers have to be demanded. And I say the only way we're going to bring things around is if we remove the people from power that did this and start afresh. We really need to make a change.
So this is true. So basically what happened is we have all this development, and we gave the folks that were building all this stuff a free pass on taxes for like 20 years.
Right.
So our tax base is gone, but because we have this development, we have increase in services. If we can have more people, you need more police, we need more firemen, you need
That's
more.
right.
So there's more demand for services, but we gave away the tax base.
Right.
So that's not responsible.
Of course it's not.
I mean, we could have conceivably helped business come in and build this and say, okay, we'll give you a pass for 5 years or 6 years or 7 years, or we'll structure it such that. But just to say, okay, you've got carte blanche for 20 years, that's bad.
Well, here's the other thing, and this is what I want to get back to. And it's about the people. It's not about you or me, and it's not about the people who are in office. It's about the people that we represent. And because it's not reflected in the budget, and because the budget isn't passed on a normal time scale like it's supposed to, the residents are being deprived of a right to speak and give a voice about what they care about. They don't have a chance to say, we don't want this Harrison Stadium built, because we don't know actually that they're going to be deprived of revenues. If we knew that they wouldn't pay taxes, do you think they'd authorize the payment of the stadium? Of course not.
So how did all this happen?
That's a good question. If I were the one signing off on it, I would have demanded a feasibility study and made sure that the payments on the taxes would actually be made. You know, if there was some kind of sweetheart deal on this, I want to know about it because I want to hold them accountable. Whoever was bond counsel on this has to be held responsible. We're going to have to look into this. It's not just getting our books and records in order. It's finding who's responsible and holding them accountable.
You wouldn't run your own business this way. You wouldn't run your household budget this way.
No, you'd be bankrupt. You'd be out of business. If you did this with your household, your wife would probably divorce you, right? You'd be out of your home. You'd be living on the streets, or you may be renting a one-bedroom apartment or something. But you would not be living the way these guys are living in Hudson County.
So the solution is we do all this. It's managed badly.
Right.
The revenues aren't coming in. We're not held accountable. We don't pass the budget. We don't have transparency. And then the knee-jerk reaction is, well, we'll raise taxes.
Right. Here's the thing. That's exactly what they want to do, is they will just spend whatever they want to. And at the end of the year, they say, okay, well, this is what we spent. That's our budget. And to cover it, we're going to raise taxes. Now, let me talk about another issue, because this is exactly what they're doing with respect to the redrawing of the freeholder districts. All right. Let me explain that every 3 years we have elections for freeholder. Now, unlike every other county in the state, we elect all our freeholders at once, and they're all elected by district. None of them are at large. All right. So every 30 years, we have the coinciding of the election of the freeholder board with the decennial census. Right. Now, within 10 days of the governor certifying the results of the decennial census, the commissioners, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, are supposed to meet and propose maps on the redrawing of the district boundaries. Now, what happened was, this happened on March 4th. We met for the first time on March 8th, 2 commissioners on either side. The Republicans proposed 9 maps. The Democrats proposed none. They sat on their hands and they said, we're going to put up the slate we want. based on the old map. New census, forget about it. Doesn't matter to us. So we start holding hearings, right? They start canceling the meetings. So we start holding meetings on our own, and they don't show up, all right? And we're explaining what's happening. Now, because they're not cooperating, we go to the Chief Justice of New Jersey and say, you know, they're not cooperating. We need you to appoint a fifth person to break the deadlock. Mm-hmm. Now, we haven't had 30 days pass, so under the statute, we can't just request that unless all 4 commissioners agree that we're at an impasse. Mm-hmm. But the other commissioners wouldn't even agree that we were at an impasse. So we follow this thing with the Chief Justice, and he says, well, because we haven't reached the 30 days, I won't appoint a fifth person. So when the 30 days pass, we go to him again and say, all right, it's been 30 days, name a fifth person. You know what they do then? The Democrats say, well, that meeting on March 8th wasn't really a meeting. It was just a get acquainted time. We just had dinner together. These are people that have known each other for years, and it's a get acquainted meeting. They get, you know, we propose maps, we hand them maps, and this is a get acquainted meeting.
You should come here like once. You should go to public access TV, not only here in Manhattan, but there's public access TV in Jersey, and give your, here's the monthly report. Right. And when you start exposing, and not only exposing this, right, but do things like say, I want a phone call here. I want 100 people to make this phone call. I want 100 people to send me this email to do
but
this.
Let me explain the constitutional ramifications of this. All right. We were trying to get a fifth person to break the deadlock so we can have the districts redrawn before the time that that the freeholder candidates had to file their petitions. Mm-hmm. And that was on April 11th. Now, the state commission was able to resolve their issues in time for the legislative candidates to file their petitions based on the newly drawn legislative boundaries on April 11th. But the freeholder candidates in Hudson County couldn't do so because the Democrats refused to even look at our maps or propose their own, so they had to follow based on the 2000 census, not the 2010.
The 2000 census?
That's right.
10 years ago.
10 years ago.
Because I'll bet that was more favorable to them, right?
It doesn't matter. They don't care. All right? The same people may have been elected, but it doesn't matter. All right, here's the point. Hoboken has grown by almost 30% since 2000. Which means that now they're underrepresented as is, all right? Mm-hmm. Even if they re-elect a Democrat, which they probably will, it still means that Hoboken is underrepresented because they have that huge growth compared to the rest of the county. We know that the county has lost population since 2000. It used to be over 600,000. It's smaller than that now. But if Hoboken has grown by nearly 30%, it means that other places in Hudson County have gotten smaller. So if you keep the boundaries the same, it means that other places in Hudson County are overrepresented compared to places like Hoboken that are now underrepresented. Okay, so and that means that there's a constitutional dilemma. And the Democrats don't care.
So you have to vote Republican.
You have to vote something other than Democrats if you want the Constitution followed.
Right. So here you go.
Right.
We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left. So, you know, we just can't keep doing the same. I got to tell you something. There's a really funny story I was telling Dr. DeLuca before the show. And here's his website. It's time for... oh, I hate to co-opt the Democratic slogan here, but it's time for a change.
Right. We do need some real change, but it's not the change that we've got in the past 3.5 years.
Right. And, if the spirit moves you, let's go here. You can donate to the campaign.
Yes.
Because every little bit helps.
It does really help. It does matter.
And you can do so very easily on PayPal.
Right. You can pay by credit card, or you can send in a check.
So you can donate to the campaign. You can come to 3 events, October 8th, the 12th, and the 13th. And
we'll be providing details on those events shortly.
And you can read about Dr. DeLuca's very impressive bio, which we didn't get a chance to talk about. But, you know, I just want to share this. Your little story about the maps. We got about 4 or 5 minutes left. Mm-hmm. Once in Jersey City, things were going so bad, and you should go to the city council meetings in Hoboken. when things got so bad, I felt so bad for the council members. I mean, the citizens were so outraged they were going to go over the desk. That's how bad things were. I mean, I was in the audience and I was afraid.
Right.
Things got so bad at one point, I think, that this was reported to me. So I don't know for sure, but I wouldn't put it past them. But it was reported to me by citizens who had been attending the Jersey City Council meetings that they just stopped broadcasting the city council meetings. And by law, there are sunshine laws that say the city council meetings have to be broadcast.
Right.
And Jersey City just stopped broadcasting for a while, and the citizens got even more outraged. But, this can't go on. I mean, this is just...
Right. Here's the bottom line. If you want change, if you're fed up with what's going on in the county, you got to vote for a change. Don't just pull the lever for the same people who are in power now. If you want change, vote for a change. And I ask that you vote for me. And I ask that you vote for the people that are running with me. We're good people, and we're going to try to do the best we can to serve you. We're going to be accountable. We're going to be open to you. We're going to put the books and records online so you can see for yourself how well we're doing. We're going to hire an independent accounting firm so that we are accountable by something outside of ourselves. Now, I also want to say that we'll be available to talk to people. I mean, it's not as if you can just walk in my door every day, because there are times when I have to focus on what I'm doing. I might be having some private meetings with people, and we're going to try to get some business done. But certainly I will have at least one person who will be running an office that its sole purpose is to respond to community concerns.
So you can have an open door policy.
Yes. It may not be my actual door, but it'll be someone that I'll be meeting with on a regular basis. We'll be hearing your concerns directly.
And remember, if your message today is the elected officials are not serving you, fire them and hire me, vote for me, we can say the same thing to you about you in like 4 years.
Absolutely.
So you know that.
And you know what? I want to hear now what you have to say and hold me accountable now. All right, tell me what it is that you need done, and I'll tell you what I'm capable of doing and what I'm trying to do. And if I'm not doing that, then tell me. Hold me accountable, and we'll respond as best we can.
And so as we're leaving the show, you can say this, hold me accountable on my performance, because through your education, through your Navy service, through clerking for a judge, through working for private law firms in Washington, if we take a look at your background, you're used to performing, and you're used to being accountable, and you're used to having results and having action plans, and you're used to getting things done. So for you, this is a continuation of performance at every stage. I mean, look at your credentials. They're outstanding.
Thanks.
You served for you clerked for a United States judge. You worked at a private law firm. These are not people who just they demand accountability. They demand performance. You taught as a professor. You served. You had some incredible cases when you were working at the Office of the Chief Counsel for Import Administration.
Right.
Private law firms in Washington don't fool around. They can hire anybody they want.
Well, we actually started a law firm. A partner of mine and I, we have a law firm there, and I'm of counsel to the firm, but we do represent a number of clients before government agencies and the courts with respect to international trade matters. And that has to do with the importing of products from abroad and whether or not they're competing unfairly and creating harming American industries.
And wrap.
Okay.
Okay, we did good.